Welcome, everyone, to the Unbroken Veterans Podcast. My name is Sam.
And I'm Nick. In this episode, we are talking with military veteran Tim Cochrane, who is the Vice President of the American Corporate Partners, also known as ACP. So, Tim, what is ACP?
ACP. So, ACP is American Corporate Partners. Uh, in a nutshell, it's big brothers, big sisters to the military. Only in our case, your little brother could be a 200-pound Marine. We were founded by an old banker who happened to be walking into the World Trade Center on September 11th when the second plane flew over his head. And like everybody else in America, he was extremely affected by the events of that day. And from that point on, he was trying to figure out, how he was going to give back other than run off and join the Marines like myself. If you remember the surge in Iraq, 2007, 2008, 20,000 men and women heading off to war. Sid Goodfriend, our founder, he couldn't get it out of his head what was going to happen when they all came back. He knew they'd be looking for jobs. And in his mind, they should get great jobs. And he knew every great job he ever got, somebody opened a door for him, right? Either made a phone call, picked up the door, somebody in their network, got their resume to the top of the heap. And so he reached out to Indra Nooyi. She was the chairman of Pepsi at the time, told her his idea that if she would provide mentors, he would pair up veterans coming out of the military with them for a mentoring program, unlike anything else in the United States at that time. And honestly, till today, there is nothing else like ACP, where somebody comes out of the military, gets paired up with somebody in their career path for a one-on-one experience for an entire year. It's an hour a month, 12 significant conversations, as we like to say, where they'll work on resumes, interview skills, what courses they should be taking in schools, what level they should be coming into, right, as they come out of the military. One of the hottest things that you'll hear from a veteran is that they have a rough time translating the skills they did in the military to what is that in a career in corporate America. And that's where the mentor is crazy and valuable. You have somebody there who's dedicated to you. In fact, almost 85% of our mentors never served in the military, and they see it just as a way to give back. So that's the 30,000 square foot of ACP and how it is. And today we just went over 100 Fortune 500 type companies, the most iconic brands, global brands in America.
That's awesome. That's really great. Obviously I didn't know any of that. So that is really awesome to hear, especially where it came from, kind of similar to the way a lot of other veteran places function, such as American Legion. I know a lot of those places were founded from veterans coming back and needing jobs. So that's really cool. For the next question, which you kind of answered in that, but kind of how can veterans utilize ACP to its full potential?
Well, look, our whole mission at ACP is meaningful employment, right? Your average veteran has got great skills, great foundation, and they're looking not just for a job, but a great job. But meaningful means different things to different people. It's not always about money. It could be work-life balance. A lot of veterans, in fact, almost 25% of the veterans who come to us are looking to advance in the job they're already in. They might wind up underemployed as they come out of the military. And the next thing look, they're unemployed day one. They're taking whatever the hell they can get. And so then they're figuring it out. And that's where the problem lies. So they wind up underemployed and they can't take care of themselves and their families and their needs and so on and so forth. And so now they're looking for somebody to help them out. And not that they're looking. These folks are there to volunteer to help them out and help guide them. And that's really the magic of this program. I'd love to say it's me and the staff at ACP. In fact, that's part of the magic at ACP. Not only does the veteran get a mentor from a Fortune 500 company or one of our citizens mentors, which could be everything from a cop, fireman, so on and so forth. Hell, I even have a couple of astronauts who are mentors in the program. So they can have somebody from that, but they're also going to get a staff person assigned to them We have over 60 what we call operational associates that are assigned to the mentorship, keeping it on track, providing resources, right? Making sure that the mentor and the protege check in every month and that they have goals and so on and so forth. That's why you see the crazy results that we get.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah. How did you come to be involved with ACP, and how can someone else get involved in terms of a mentorship role?
Well, I personally, I spent over 30 years at the New York Stock Exchange, and I was looking for something different, right? I mean, trading had become electronic. I was a bit of a dinosaur. If I had to put one more algorithm into a computer, I would have been running for the door. And I came across ACP. I saw all the corporate logos at the time. I think we were around 60 companies. Today, like I said, we have over 100 companies. And I said, geez, I've spent, 30 years working with 2,800 of the biggest companies in the world at the New York Stock Exchange. Wouldn't it be great to be able to bring some of those relationships and get them involved in a veterans program? Obviously, being an old Marine, I remember exactly what it was like to transition. As far as other folks, listen, if I promise you, there's very few things I can say in life. In fact, every one of my presentations, I tell them, the veteran, this is going to be a life-changing event for you. I mean, literally, meaningful employment and having somebody opening doors for you is just ideal. And that's what our mentors step up to do. But yeah, I mean, we have our citizens program. Anybody can reach out. Look, the key to being a mentor in this environment is if you have a job, right? And the average veteran has never worked a day in corporate America. So it's a great opportunity for you to have a rewarding experience, and that's what I hear day in and day out. The mentors are constantly telling us, I got more out of this than the protege. Introduce your company, right? Our companies provide the funding and the mentors in general, but we do have individuals. So please, you can easily go to our website, acp-usa.org, and sign up today.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah. So I guess let's take somebody who is fresh out of it. Let's say someone listens to this podcast and they want to start their path with ACP. Where do they go? What do they need to click on? Who do they need to email? And what are the steps? How do they get set up with a mentor? Walk us through.
It is so simple. It's kind of scary. Look.
So it's so simple a veteran can do it?
So simple a veteran. So simple somebody like you can do it. It really is an easy look. First of all, your post 9/11 veteran is inundated with all these different opportunities. There's 40,000 VSOs, veteran service organizations out there, nonprofits, right? So, what's best in class? What do I do? And they're getting pulled from every direction. It's a simple process, and I tell them all the time. You go to ACP's website. It shows right there. Go to if you want to be a mentor, there's a red tab for the mentors. There's a red tab for the application for the veteran. All you have had to do is serve 180 days post 9/11 active duty. And our program is also open currently to active duty spouses. We only just opened that up the beginning of last year. And so we have we've had a couple of great companies support that program, and we have incredible mentors for our spouses. You hit the red button, it's going to pop up with an application. It's a 5, 6, 7-minute application. You put your basics in there, what your name is, what your thing. You don't have to even go in depth into it, right? I can't tell you how many people don't fill out the simple application because there's a part that says, tell your military experience. And they're like, I got to get my DD 214. Dude, take a couple of seconds, write in a few packs, because here's the magic. Within a day, 24 hours of you hitting send, somebody from ACP is going to reach out. They're going to set up a 15, 20-minute conversation with you at your leisure, on the phone, on FaceTime, whatever, to where you're going to give all your information. And look, you might have no clue what you want to do. You might say, hell, Timmy, I want to be an aerospace engineer at Lockheed Martin. I want to work in the Memphis, Tennessee area, blah, blah, blah. Great. If you know exactly what you want to do, tell your OA. But you might say, hey, look, I signed up, I joined the Marines, I drove a truck, I have a marketing degree. I don't have a clue what that looks like in corporate America. That's great also, because that's where your OA is now going to step in, and they're going to find you a perfect pair. And look, this ain't Match.com, folks. We spend a lot of time and effort making sure that the pair is, and look, nothing's perfect, but it's very important for us that the mentors get as good an experience as the proteges, because we only ask our companies to do it for a year, and they come back year after year after year, because the mentors say they get as much out of it as the veteran. But like I said, each one is customized. You might be, for the mentors, they might be African-American, living in Memphis, father was in the Army, they only want to work with a guy, whatever, works perfect. Or you could come in and say, hey, I want to work with anybody who wants to go into HR. We take all that into consideration. And then it's not like it's an algorithm that we take all this information from the veteran, and the process is the same for both sides. We pencil pair every single pair. We actually have, like I said, almost 60 staff that are talking back and forth. We take some metrics into consideration, but after that, we pitch you the mentor, we pitch you the protege. You have the opportunity to say, yeah, that sounds like somebody great. Or you could say, I want to try somebody different. That doesn't really fit what I'm looking for. And the next thing you know, you have a great mentor who's working with you for an entire year for an hour a month.
Yeah,
That's outstanding.
I can definitely vouch. It's easy to work with, and it was everybody that I've worked with ACP has been very quick to communicate back. So,
and for the veterans, listen, dude, this is like, I tell everybody, you have to network. You have to have your own little board of directors, right? You have to have 2 or 3 people as you're transitioning that you can bounce ideas off of. I'm going to give you the chairman of your board. Hell, I'm going to give you like a rich uncle, that one guy or one man or woman that you always wished that you had, that's got 6, 8, 10 years experience in the career path. You grab their coattails and you go for the ride. I mean, it's a chance of a lifetime to be able to have somebody. I mean, hell, Rupert Murdoch is currently a mentor in our program. Alex Gorski, the CEO of Johnson & Johnson. I mean, Tom Hanks years ago was a mentor. You just never know who you're going to wind up with. All you have to come up with is the career path that you think you want to head in. And it could be manufacturing, consulting, financial services. Hell, like I say, you could be the next groundskeeper at Yankee Stadium. I'll get you a mentor from Major League Baseball that'll take care of you for a year to make sure you wind up in that great spot. It is an ideal way to wind up into a great, great job.
Gosh, I don't know if we need to continue this podcast past this episode. We might be good.
You guys are
right.
We're going. Timmy, we're going.
It's all ACP. That's all you need to know.
That's it.
So you've been a wealth of information, and we are very appreciative of your time. For anyone that's wanting to learn a little bit more, what is the best resource for them to utilize?
As far as what? As far as mentoring?
In mentoring, getting involved in ACP, whether you want to be a mentor, you want to be mentored. Again, you've given us a wealth of information, but if there's something else they're looking for, question and answer kind of thing, maybe it's a website, maybe it's an email. What's a great
our website? Listen, you could go to the ACP, like I said, acp-usa.org website. We have incredible resources. There's pages and pages of resources, everything from resume to interview skills to, look, when you become part of the ACP family, you're going to have the opportunity. We had over 40 events last year, everything from job hiring events to networking events to resume writing from the biggest companies in the world. And these are the professionals who are actually out there listening. Look, your average hiring manager has 6 to 8 seconds to look at your resume. That resume sure as hell better jump right out at them in the first line or so, or you might as well move on, right? And it sure as hell better pertain to the job you're going after. because they just don't have the time. It's not personal, folks. They just don't have the time. They got 50, 60 roles to fill. They got 1,000 people to weed through. You got to be on your game. You'll get the job. Companies want veterans. Don't get me wrong. They know that you have a great foundation. You know how to show up for work on time, complete tasks, right? Work in chaotic environments. But if the people hiring you don't have a clue what it's bad enough you show up with this bad Brooklyn accent, but then on top of it, you're still talking militaryese. So you got to have a mentor to walk you through so that when you wind up, you get that window of opportunity. You sure as hell better be able to jump through it.
Outstanding.
Yeah. Last one for our ACP questions is, do you or have you ever mentored for ACP?
I have. I'm getting ready to go on my 4th protege. And I've had some pretty great experiences. I mean, it's just been, I still speak to all 3 of my proteges. One was a Marine Corps helicopter pilot. Other one was in the Air Force, and the other was Army Special Forces. It just 3 different guys, 3 different paths. And I can assure you that it was as rewarding for me as they might tell you that it was for them. They're all doing terrific. And, you know, I didn't find any one of the 3 a job. There's no onus on the mentors to find you a job. It's kind of like a 60-60 proposition. You know, each side brings a little bit to the table. You open doors, you give them the guidance that they're looking for. Look, you could go on all the interviews in the world. I have never heard of a hiring manager calling somebody up and saying, hey, knucklehead, the reason you blew this interview is because you said this, this, and this. Good luck. It doesn't happen. You just don't hear from them. Or they might send you a quick note and say, thank you for your time. We'll keep you in mind. But you have no idea what the hell you blew that job. And that's where your mentor is so ideal. And that's where I felt like when you're talking to somebody who's been through interviews, knows what hiring managers are going to be asking you. And all of a sudden the veteran says, well, the most chaotic environment I was in was when I dragged my buddy from a burning Humvee. And, they'd start looking at you and they're like, they know veterans from television, right? So they see, they don't know. They're like, wait a second, this guy could have PTS. He could have this. She could be this. Way too many preconceived notions. So having somebody guide that process so you know the right things to say, you're going to wind up in that spot.
We thank you for listening, and we hope you got something helpful out of this.
Right now, the best way to support us is to simply spread the word. If you know a fellow veteran who could use some resources to elevate their life, send them our way.
Until next time, remember to check your 0s, 5s, 10s, and 25s.